Hi, I'm Kristen Fitch with Ziggity Zoom, and today we're talking about Junior Achievements, Be a Technology Entrepreneur, Lesson 5, Competitive Advantages. And today I'm with Brad Scott with Seton Corporation, an IT solutions firm, and we're going to talk about competitive advantages. Brad, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. So Seton Corp's a Native American veteran-owned small business. We actually work with typically large enterprise customers and innovative small businesses. Primarily what we do is we combine technology, talent, and integrity to solve the complex business problems of those customers.
Wonderful. And how long have you been in business?
Been in business for a little over 6 years. At that time, we've won numerous awards about being named to the Inc. 500, 5,000 list 3 times, the #1 Native American entrepreneur, United States as well, veteran entrepreneur here in the United States and Virginia as well.
Wow, that's great. So why don't we dive right into this lesson, competitive advantage, and what would be the first things you'd like to share with the students on this lesson?
Sure. Competitive advantage is very key to driving your business and differentiating yourself. Primarily a lot of times people think a competitive advantage, especially just getting into business, is all about profit, and it's really not.
Right.
Profit is the outcome of the business, and competitive advantage is what sets you apart from everyone else. As an example, a lot of times you may hear you got to do it better, faster, cheaper, and a lot of those times that you may need to do that to be cheaper if someone's doing it better or faster. We look at it a little different way. We look at ways to add more value to our clients and to give them a better product and service.
Right, great. And what are some competitive advantages that your company, for instance, kind of explains?
Absolutely. So primarily we compete against large corporations with large infrastructures, large sales forces, etc. And one of the things that, actually coming from those big organizations as well, one of the things that I noticed is that they always miss the customer focus, number one. And then number two, one of the other things is they were very slow to respond to customers. So we're able to be better customer service and faster in response. So even dealing with large corporations and innovative small businesses, we're able to provide that customer service that they desire both during and after the sale, as well as be very responsive to their needs, which enables us to beat those larger corporations.
Right, okay, great. So one thing as the students are going through sort of this series, they're going to have to determine what their business idea is, write a business plan, and then of course determine what are their businesses or the product or services competitive advantages. So how would you recommend they sort of delve into that and really determine those kernels, what those are?
The competitive advantages?
Yes, for their idea.
Sure. First is looking at if your product or service has any competitors in the market, and do that research, and not have paralysis through analysis, meaning that you over research where you're not moving forward, but absolutely do some research on your competitors. Find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. Their strengths you can emulate that, but their weaknesses is really what you want to look at. Why don't they have 100% market share? Where are ways that your product or service could beat them? Likewise, talk to respectable clients out in the marketplace and theirs, and because they're going to tell you, they're going to say, I like these 3 things, but I really wish they did this 4th thing, and that's something that the organization could take advantage of and have that competitive advantage.
Right, and one thing you brought up, that's a very good point. When we, as a new entrepreneur, are looking at the competitors, I've heard many entrepreneurs say, there's really no competition. We're the first person to do this. What would you say to that comment?
There's competition in everything that you do. And likewise, even if you are the first one to the market, if you're the first one to the market with an app, the reality is someone's going to be right behind you.
Right.
And you must always, your initial competitive advantage may be first to market, but you must maintain that and look to ways to diversify your product or your solution, because you're going to have other folks, as I mentioned earlier, emulating your successes and then targeting your weaknesses.
So what other things would you like to share with the students about competitive advantage?
Sure. It's very key that when you look at your competitive advantage, that you really focus on value for your end user, your client. Competitive advantage saying that we're located in Hampton Roads. Well, that's fantastic. That's great. Or we're located in Silicon Valley. That's okay. But really, what's the value for your end user? You could say that we do things faster. Well, what does that mean to your client?
Right.
Or you're cheaper. Well, what does that mean? What are they losing? And look at that. When you look at your competitive advantage and you say, wow, this is really 3 things that we're doing differently than our competitors. Also look at what are ways that your competitors could attack those, because they will. They'll look at your strengths and weaknesses, and they'll attack those in competitive situations.
And I think you brought up a really good point earlier, that which is mentioned in the series, a profit is not a competitive advantage. Like you said, that's an outcome of having competitive advantages and having customers that will pay you.
Absolutely.
So what else, as the students go through the competitive advantages to finish up this whole series, to get to, finish business plan and concept, do you think is relevant? Whether they've done an exercise in competitive advantages or whether they've actually come up with their product and run through the competitive advantages. Is it maybe they need to do more research, talk to more people, other things you might recommend?
Absolutely. I think it's always good to find appropriate sounding boards for your business and look for folks that are going to give you candid feedback. Our parents are always going to tell us they love us and they're going to tell us that our product is right there.
Right.
Look for the folks that are going to give you that hard feedback that you may not want to hear and really take that through different organizations, different demographics of your customers or your potential customers and gain that potential feedback. And even if you do discover a weakness that you can't correct,
right.
Maybe a situation that capital is a big hindrance to your organization, that's a weakness. It's okay, just be aware of it. That way you can sell around it and maybe turn that into a competitive advantage.
Right. So 2 other things. The first is sometimes someone has a great idea, but it's very complicated. So let's say they need patents or they need very complicated equipment. How should someone navigate maybe through that? Because they might say, I have this really original idea, and think that's a competitive advantage. But the issue would be maybe they haven't looked into the depth of time or the length of time it'll take or how much real investment it'll take. So any thoughts on that as far as when someone comes up with a great idea?
Sure.
What are those steps to make sure it's viable for them to be able to move forward with it?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is finding mentors. And mentorship is a huge element, both upstream and downstream. And that's one of the reasons why Seton Corp we've been so successful is I've spent the time to seek out mentors to help me. I'd much rather learn from someone that's been there and done that versus someone just providing me advice. It's all about experience sharing. And one of the things that, especially in the entrepreneurial community, is you'll find a lot of folks that are willing to share that information. They're going to share how they failed and they wish they would have done something. So if it is a patent, look up in the local area who owns patents and that's maybe been through that process, and they could probably explain the way to handle that. If it is regulatory things, look for those folks in the community. Create your network, trust your network, and respect your network. So if there's mentors that are spending time with you, remember to provide it back to them. Be respectful for their time and energy as well.
And were there any early lessons for you that you'd like to share as far as you thought your competitive advantages was one thing, but it really turned out to be another with those early customers? Any story you want to share maybe with the students?
I think in general, competitive advantage, it's not going to be there forever. There is a time limit, whether that competitive advantage is for a day or for a year or for a decade, there is a time limit on that. So as entrepreneurs, we must constantly be looking and researching our organization and looking for ways to improve, because the competitive advantage, it may be here today, but it may be gone tomorrow, because someone may come in, you may have a better solution, but someone may come in and be cheaper, which that way you need to constantly look at your environment and go through that as well.
Right, absolutely. Great. Well, anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
I think, as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things is, one of the things my grandmother told me was never let anything hold you back. Don't let age, race, sex, education, level, your experience, don't let anything that holds you back. Go for it and never give up. You're going to have failures along the way. I've definitely had mine, but if you respect those failures, you learn from them and move on, your successes will greatly outweigh those failures.
Great words of advice.
See you at the Shark Tank.
Did that work?
Very nice, yeah.